Muppets Take Manhattan just came out on 4K from Sony, and I wanted to talk about this movie. This is an interesting movie. I have my own personal history with this, but let's talk about the 4K first, and then we'll get into the movie itself. Got this gorgeous slipcover. I love the art on this. You open it up, and the 4K disc is in my player, but you get a Blu-ray disc in there too. It's got a commentary with director Frank Oz, interviews with Jim Henson, Muppetisms, Miss Piggy and Kermit, Pepe and Fozzie Bear. I don't know why it says Pepe, because Pepe's not in this movie. That's a really weird thing to include that character. He was not a character that came into the Muppets until way later. A little weird, but yeah. Got a gorgeous slipcover and design, everything. It's got special features. Not a whole lot, but enough that's better than the Blu-ray. So this is really great that this has a 4K release at all, because the Blu-ray's been out of print for almost a decade now. It is a little pricey. Not as pricey as it was, but it was a little bit pricey. This is a weird... Now, some people might wonder why this release is coming from Sony. The reason why is that Jim Henson sold the rights to the Muppets to Disney, but they didn't acquire all the different things. There were some things that some studios held the rights to. So these movies were distributed by Sony, so these have Sony. There's weird licensing rights with the Muppets. So, for example, the Muppet movie, the first one... Disney owns the rights. They released that on Blu-ray, all that. But Universal re-releases it in theaters all the time because they own the theatrical distribution rights. Very confusing distribution rights and who owns what with the Muppets. There's a lot of things that are kind of up in the air with that. And so I think Disney would like to own everything, but they don't. The only other movie that Sony owns that Disney doesn't... Let's see if I have it. Yeah, it's right here. Muppets from Space. So we might get this on 4K at some point. I don't think so, because this movie was a box office bomb. Yeah, the 4K looked great, by the way. I have not seen this movie in at least over a decade. I finally watched this, though. The 4K looked very well cleaned up. I was probably 8 last time I saw this movie. So it's been about 12 years or so. 4K looked great, very well cleaned up, very crisp image, right? I think this is the best this movie's ever looked. This musical sequences, just the special effects are very well shown off. It just all looks really good. All the puppetry is fantastic. You know, it's Jim Henson. So it all looks well cleaned up. Very crystal clear images. The sets look great. It just all looks really good. That very New York kind of feel to this movie is just fantastic as well, and you feel that in this movie. Now, so that's all I have to say about the 4K. 4K is 100% worth grabbing. It is a little pricey. It's about $30, but I think it's worth it if you're a big fan of the Muppets. If not, I would say wait for a sale. There's enough here that's great to have this, but like I feel like you can wait. Now let's talk about the movie. So growing up, I was obsessed with the Muppets back in the day. And, you know, that's something that will always talk about is I love the Muppets. But one thing with the Muppets is they have a lot of movies. And I've seen all of them. I have a soft spot for all of them. Some more than others. But as a kid, I liked the first Muppet movie, Muppet Treasure Island, Christmas Carol, and those ones. The one I could not stand was Muppets Take Manhattan. Could not stand that one. In fact, I had the Blu-ray and got rid of it. Years later, I remembered so many things about it that I liked. And I really wanted to rewatch it again. So I went to go look up the Blu-ray. Out of print. It was selling for buco bucks. So that's why I'm so glad to have this now. But yeah. And this movie is a really solid movie. It is a little bit of a different direction than that first Muppet movie. Because the first Muppet movie is about them trying to get to Hollywood, to get famous. And then this movie is kind of a natural continuation of that, where they are now trying to be on Broadway. It's not working out for them. Fame's not working out. but in the end, they at least they have each other and they're able to follow their dreams and stuff. It I don't know why this one didn't work for me as a kid, but now reading it now, there's some really beautiful parts of this movie. That song where they're saying goodbye to each other, such a heartfelt, sad song. Love that song. The characters in this movie are all, all given really fun things to do on their own, and then eventually them making their way back to Kermit. All the celebrity cameos are really fun. They have a lot of great energy in this movie. It's just a really fun movie, and there's so much goofiness to it. It's not my favorite Muppet movie. I do feel like this one is a little bit slower paced. Maybe that's why I like it a little bit less than the other ones. I feel like the other ones move a little bit easier. But this one does have... Also, this one I think has the weakest musical numbers, honestly, out of all the Muppet films that have musical numbers. Because not all of them do. Muppets with Space doesn't, which is kind of odd. But this one does not. And I think that does help it feel kind of awkward a little bit. There's You Can't Take No for an Answer. There's Together Again. But they reused the Muppets Most Wanted. And like I mentioned earlier, there's Saying Goodbye. But those songs are kind of few and far between. And so I do think that hurts it just a little bit. But otherwise, it's a great movie. Frank Oz's direction of this movie is great. Frank Oz is a very good director. He directed the 80s version of Little Shop of Horrors, not the 1940s version. And, what an incredible film. So yeah, I adore the Muppets. I'm not sure what the fuck that was just a second ago. But yeah, I love the Muppets. I love this movie. You should grab this 4K. Can't recommend it highly enough if you're a huge Muppets fan like myself.